Activism is not a hobby. It's not, you can have passion for activism, but it is not a chosen passion for a lot of minorities. Because of the fact that it's not just a matter, it's a matter of life and death for people. That's exactly what it is. It's a matter of life and death. It's not a knitting class that you decide to go to because you can decide when you want to stop knitting. You can't stop being a minority. And quite frankly, for a lot of people who are privileged, for a very long time, the complacency of not recognizing struggles because it doesn't touch you doesn't make you a bad person. But when you are faced with a situation where you can see it, it's in front of you, that's when you're called to action. That's when your true colors show. Because we can all watch movies and be like, oh yeah, God, no, if I were that actor, I'd have done this and this and this. I'd have been like, that's not happening. But then when you're the actor in the scene in real life, what do you actually do? What do you actually say? For me, I'm gay, super gay. If you couldn't tell, I mean, you know, my boyfriend. No, not really. But that for me revealed a lot of things in high school where I had to ask myself, what am I going to do about it? So when I was 16, I decided that some of my weekends were not going to go to hanging out with buddies. They were going to go to, I luckily have a family that accepts me, never got kicked out, but I did have friends who attempted suicide. I did have friends who got kicked out of their homes. I did have friends that were at the end of their line because they were young kids. They're just kids. And for me, that broke my heart. And taking that first step of action to say, you know, community activism and asking about feelings and saying, I don't feel safe. I don't feel okay. I'm not comfortable with that joke. It's not funny. I'm not being stingy. I'm not going too far. I'm not being a party pooper. No, that's not funny. It's not. Those little actions of changing your behavior, changing your friends, cutting certain people out, really taking that to the extreme limit to make sure you make a change. That's something I realized at a very, very young age because I could not hang out with people who had homophobic tendencies. I hope that everybody recognizes the important part that emotion and stories play in community organizing. I think for a lot of people, sometimes we get stale in the practice and we see numbers, we see turnout, we see outreach calls, we see event planning. Did we get the right venue? Did we get this? And sometimes because we do it for so long, we forget there's actual people in the crowd that have stories. And they're crying when they go home. They're hurting when they look at their husband, their wives, their non-binary partner. They're hurting when they look at their kids, and they need to be asked. Those stories need to be brought to the forefront.